So after this split of classes into full-time and part-time, we're going to back to our package and we're going to add another Java class, and we're going to call it an employee. And this new class employee will be the base class for both employee full-time and part-time, and it's going to accommodate all common parts like name, tax ID, this get name, and even it'll have place for compute pay. So let's finish this, and I'll simply move the parts, the common parts, into this class. So let's just say these data attributes, we want them here. Then most likely we would like to have a constructor that takes care of these two attributes. Okay, so this will be employee constructor, and it'll take this name and tax ID. Okay, fine. Next, of course, the getters. We can take these getters from here and place them over here. There is only one so far. That's fine. So once this is done, we can safely take this out from here. Okay, and this week hours we seem to be using at the full-time level, so it'll stay right here. Of course, this is no longer going to work, so this still needs to be addressed. And inheritance mechanism basically is establishing a relationship between classes, and we can designate one class to be the base class or superclass at the top of the hierarchy, and another class is to be a subclass of that base class or subclass of that superclass. So essentially, it's at the design time, at the class level, at the level which compiler understands, what is going to happen is that this full-time class, and this is our employee class, basically will tell the compiler that we want to inherit everything from employee. We want to take the name, we want to take the tax ID, we want to be able to call this constructor, we want to be able to also inherit this method. Essentially, inheritance here will work exactly as we took all of this and pasted it over into the body of this class. But instead of doing it physically, right? So instead of doing it like this, instead of us doing this, just basically doing something like this, which is kind of ugly, we'll be asking compiler to do it for us. So the idea of inheritance is that if this is our superclass or base class, we'd like to take all of this and make it part of this class as well. And it is simply done by extends employee. So we're telling compiler, go ahead, locate this class, and bring everything from here over to this class as well. We want all of this here, right? So we want all of this to be part of this. This is inheritance. Take all of this and make it part of it. But at the same time, we recognize that this employee base is going to be also useful over here for employee full-time. Here we'll do the same thing. It'll be extending the employee. So that employee will be the base class or superclass for more than one class. So this is why we want to keep employee class and other types of employees in separate classes, in separate files and separate public classes. So this is the approach. The next thing that I'd like to change is to take care of those things. We still need a name and tax ID for full-time. So instead of doing it directly like this, because these things are private over here, the syntax will be that we will invoke this employee constructor like this. Just going to say this name, comma, tax ID. So we're going to delegate initialization of name and tax ID to the base class. So I'll save all of my changes so far like this, and I'll also go to my part-time, the second type of employee that I'm going to be using, and make exact same changes. Right, so the constructor is going to be like this. Of course, we're going to get rid of these data attributes. We are no longer using them here. We don't need this getter, so we just bring both of these classes to the same look. So just align everything appropriately like this. Okay, so we have our data attributes. Our constructors should delegate everything, and our compute pay are different methods right here. But also notice the difference. In class employee part-time, we store hourly pay rate, and in the full-time employee class, we store weekly salary. So there's a difference, right? So these two classes are different. Here we'll also define a constant, right? So we have a constant named week hours, which we use later on in compute pay. Now we need to address one more issue, which was the original issue, is that what about this array list? And now we can declare it an array list of employee type. Basically, we're going to be using the base type right here. And look, this array list is now happy with us saying array of employee references, but when we say new, we say employee full-time and employee part-time. So we're going to make this change also in the payroll. The payroll is expecting this array list of employees, and I'll change it to the base class. I'll explain to you in a second how this will work.